Go ahead.
A question on inflation, since this is the first time we've
Sure.
had a briefing since those numbers came out. The president has said the administration is going to continue to be all hands on deck to try and bring prices back down. Can you give us a sense of what that really looks like? Because you've pointed many times to parts of the Build Back Better agenda that remains stalled. In fact, one of Senator Manchin's big objections to the bill was the high rate of inflation. So if the Build Back Better plan sort of remains at this impasse, what's Plan B to try and bring down some of these costs?
Well, there's a couple steps that the president is very focused on as it relates to addressing inflation. One, I would note that economists in the Federal Reserve still predict that inflation will come down, will moderate over the course of the year. And the president has also said that he supports the steps that the Federal Reserve, an independent body, has announced about recalibrating over the course of the coming months. And he's obviously nominated a number of individuals to fill the board, which is an essential part of addressing this. But I would also note beyond that, how the president really looks at this is how you're addressing core costs for the American people. So you referenced the Build Back Better plan. First, we believe there's a path forward, and the president's going to continue to fight for it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone to Virginia earlier this week and talked about negotiating the price of prescription drugs. So his view is that in order to address costs that have been affecting inflation, but also infecting families for many decades, the cost of prescription drugs, the cost of childcare, we need to move that forward. But it's not just that. We also need to address supply chains in the short term at the ports, rebuild our manufacturing infrastructure, make sure that we are implementing the bipartisan infrastructure law and continuing to press for the competitiveness legislation that will help ensure we have funding for chips for manufacturing of cars here in the United States. And you've also heard him talk a fair amount about promoting competition, and that addresses issues like we've seen price increases in the meat industry and others, and that will help bring down costs for Americans. So there is certainly a significant and important, a vital role that the Federal Reserve plays. They are independent. He wants that board to be completely filled, but there are a number of other steps we are working to take to lower costs for the American people.